Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there, and welcome. It's Monday, the last Monday in July 2012. Wow. Oh, guess it's July 30th, so tomorrow Susan will be on, my sister, and it's her birthday. So she'll be on her birthday. Isn't that nice? Okay, a beautiful, beautiful day yesterday. Hope you were able to enjoy it. Doesn't look half bad today as well. And that concludes the meteorological segment of the program. Well, let's start out easy like we usually do on a Monday morning. Olympics! You guys been watching? The opening ceremonies were when? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Friday. What day is it and where am I? All right. Okay, so what'd you think? I know, Jess loved them. I have trouble with any grand display like that. It seems impossible to pull off. And I spent a lot of it giggling. But did you see yeah, we did get to see, we saw the girl I was with in Amsterdam, my niece's. She had surreptitiously emailed us a picture of her costume and told us when she'd be on and told us to find, we could see her. She'd be in the twirling, lighted up outfit with the orange hair. And there she was. I think she got on twice, actually. Yeah. She had a real, close-up at one point. So, Laura! In that whole... It's funny. I thought the funniest thing with that, there were two high points for me, and that was Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean, who is as wonderfully funny comic as there can be, and I just loved it. I just loved what he did, injecting some humor into all of the the ludicrous enormity and of the event. I just thank God for him. And then, of course, I gotta credit the Queen for agreeing to do her little bit. That was boy, she's come a long way. I'll tell you what, since her incredible tone deafness about popular culture when Princess Di died. In fact, there was that movie, The Queen, made about that. How never before had the modern monarchy, fallen into such, unpopularity. She didn't get it. She was not seen as emotional and removed. And it's fascinating how now she clearly gets it and has loosened up enough to have agreed to do what she did in her own stiff, inimitable style. Somewhere in the middle of all that, my brother the genius, emailed me about something, and I emailed back and in response, but then said, "Hey, why the heck aren't you watching the opening ceremonies like everyone else in the world?" And I didn't get a response back, but then the Queen thing happened. And so I emailed quickly an addendum saying, "You gotta watch, the Queen just parachuted into the stadium." And do you know what? The genius fell for it. The phone rang. The phone rang. "Did she really? What do you mean? I said, "Oh, for God's sake. I can't believe you believe that." So much for geniuses. Okie doke. I didn't even watch to the end. I couldn't. I just wandered away. It was too much for me. All the nations walking in. Just too much. Too much. But what I've always found fascinating, even since I was a kid, is watching sports that you don't normally see, and being educated about, what they are and how, in fact, difficult they are, and so you gain an appreciation for skill that you otherwise wouldn't. So I sometimes get a kick out of that, although I don't know how the most gorgeous man these are just thoughts popping in, the most gorgeous hunk of masculinity in the world cannot overcome the cap you have to wear for water polo. Wearing those little caps for water polo would turn the most gorgeous man in the world into an instant goofus. I don't know how anyone can, I just don't know how you could wear it. I don't know how you could do it. I don't even care if there's a gold medal in it for you. I can't see how you could do it. Any self-respecting human being would put that stupid thing on. Isn't there some other way to it's so they'll know what team is what team, right? They're colored. But and speaking of head coverings and getting away from the Olympics for a minute, why do non-Jewish men forced into wearing a yarmulke, a skull cap, often look so stupid in them? Do you know what I mean? No, you don't? There's a picture of Romney at the Western Wall, and someone put a little skull cap on him, and it just looks, I don't know, it just looks odd. It looks like it doesn't work. And yet on a Jewish head, it looks just fine. Is that some problem I've got? Is some perception thing I have? But I don't know. Maybe there's something very odd looking about it. And speaking of Romney, did we have an opportunity to make fun of his total ridiculous, gaffe in England? Good God. It's a wonder that he even showed up at the opening ceremonies. He should have just, left town under the dark of night. Jesus. What is it with him? This sort of, it's almost like Asperger's, like this absolute inability to interact in a casual and comfortable way without saying something off. You know how you sometimes meet somebody and they're just off? There's something wrong. Something ain't in gear like most people would be. You just look at them and think something's not quite right. And he's got that problem. And I don't know, it's so odd. I guess he's used to being surrounded by people who he knows and he is comfortable with, and maybe they get whatever quirkiness he has. But once he's out amongst the hoi polloi, the great unwashed, he clearly doesn't translate from the. I mean, it is sort of like basic breeding or good manners that anybody knows. You do not insult your host. You don't go to someone's house and spurn their hospitality or point out their deficits. It's not gracious to do that. So that is such a no-brainer that you got to wonder how somebody thinks he's smart enough to run the entire country can, just like that, bang, offend one of our staunchest allies, actually get the conservative prime minister to fire back and ridicule Romney in return. I mean, that was not... It was unbelievable. The mayor of London ending up, just openly dissing him in front of a crowd. That takes some doing. And it was the same kind of clumsiness, social clumsiness, that he evidenced when he visited here in that phony, photo op thing, sitting around a picnic table with some cherry-picked regular human beings who offered him a plate of cookies, which he then proceeded to diss. Oh, I don't know about those. Oh, those don't look, I don't know. Where they come from, some 7-Eleven or something? No, they just came from our town's most beloved bakery, you jerk. It's so odd. I don't know that I've seen as stiff a Republican candidate, as uncomfortable a Republican candidate since Richard Nixon, which shows to Goya that uncomfortable Republican candidates can win. Some of it might have to do with the wealth, the patrician aspect, because he bears a resemblance. This is why John Kerry had such trouble. He, too, was stiff and didn't translate, right? And it sure didn't work well for the Democrats. I hope it works equally well for the Republicans this time around. So I digressed. So I tweeted that the beach volleyball babes had to cover up. Ha ha! I am quite sure that most of the people who watch that sport are guys ogling these half-naked, extraordinarily lean, tall, athletic women who play beach volleyball. And for some reason, I remember being shocked the first time I saw beach volleyball in the Olympics, because I thought, you mean they're allowed to wear nothing? They might as well be naked. What is the point? What is the point? They're wearing the teeniest of little bikinis as they jump and romp. And, they have these extraordinary hard bodies that don't even jiggle. So, anyway, it's so cold in London. Looks good to me, actually, that they've had to cover up. Even though they're jumping around like that, you got to figure they'd be warm enough. But they're covering up just a bit, so the guys won't get to ogle quite as much of them. Oh, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. It's all over the place, isn't it? And yet there's no major narrative that it seems to me that NBC can find this time. There's no Phelpsian juggernaut. There's a lot of they can't find as easy a way to hook the audience. But it's fun watching them try. And the one thing that just blows me away is when you watch, I mean, you can't believe what these people are doing. It's like the gymnasts. What the hell? I mean, catapulting their bodies through space and maintaining extraordinary control, the strength required. On my Twitter account on the bus on the way here, some woman pointed out, and she's so right. She says, "What's with the floor exercise for the women?" And she says, "What's that? All of a sudden they wiggle their ass. You know, what is that little sort of like this little ass wiggle and then a little hop, skip, and a jump?" And she says, "That's called the dance element." What does that have to do with dance? And how come if the girl gymnasts are expected to all of a sudden, when they're engaged in this extraordinary athletic display, all of a sudden, bang, wiggle my ass. You know, I can wiggle my ass. That is not an athletic accomplishment. And if anybody thinks for a minute that then is giving some dance, artistic element to the routine, you gotta be kidding me. There's nothing artistic about an ass wiggle. It looks out of place and, frankly, let's admit it, stupid! The guys doing floor exercises don't do any ass wiggles. So where's their dance element? Or is it just the females that all of a sudden have to stop appearing to be these strong as hell, fearless athletes and just for a moment wiggle your ass? Because after all, you are a girl in the middle of it all. Right? What is that about? Oh, man. Let's see. What else was I thinking? I don't know. So the basketball teams, did you watch any of the basketball? The basketball teams take the floor, and, you know, here's a team from, like, Iceland, and they're all black. And you say, wait a minute, what's going on here? Then the Spaniards come in, and they're all black. And then the French, they're black. And then I'm thinking, oh, come on. They're all black NBA players. I don't think Iceland has I was trying to go for a real blonde country there. Yeah, the Scandinavians have taken the court. And they're all black. So, I don't know. So the first medal was won by a blind archer. Is that amazing? The guy who cannot miss the bullseye with his arrow is blind. He's legally blind. He has 10% vision in one eye and 20% in the other, but he does sort of see that red. He vaguely makes out that red spot down there and bang, hits it every single time. I think except one. Whatever. Amazing. Oh, hello.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Monday morning.
Good morning.
Lynn,
Monday.
George.
Hi, George.
In Moon.
Hello.
I just turned you on, and I heard something about you wanted to wiggle your ass.
No, I don't want to wiggle my ass. I am saying that what's with the
little...
little...
You said you could.
I sure as hell can.
Well, yeah, okay, well... we digress, but we'll come back to that subject.
Okay.
Okay, first thing is, Mitt Romney, in his stiffness...
Yes.
His wealth culture...
His what
and
culture?
His business sense...
Oh, yeah.
Now, think of another. Richard Nixon is not even close. Richard Nixon was not... He was stiff and socially kind of awkward.
Awkward, right.
But he was not ensconced in that culture of wealth and business. Let me give you another example. How about Steve Forbes?
Yes.
Who ran for president.
Yeah, but you know what? His dad Malcolm, remember Malcolm Forbes?
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm Forbes wasn't stiff at all. Remember, he used to ride motorcycles, and he was just like a regular kind of guy. And it was the son, Steve, that became the stiff.
Well, the same thing with Romney.
I guess that's true. George, his dad, was not stiff.
Father was a sociable, likable, liberal type, effusive guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll present that as an example, because stiff Steve Forbes is just awkward, and when he ran for president, he was the same awkward, stiff sort of character, lost in his own wealth culture, and inept at trying to make the bridge.
Yeah, well, a lot of the rich, by virtue of their wealth, they don't mix. They don't. Right. When they do mix, they're mixing with their own kind, and when they bump into regular people, inevitably the regular people are serving them in some way. So that's not an equal relationship.
And I hearken back to Sociology 101 in college, where it talks about the second generation wealth.
Yes.
We can get that many examples, actually. George Bush compared to his father.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about GW. I'm talking about the old man, 41.
Yeah.
Same thing. His father was more of an effusive guy, and George was living in wealth and kind of awkward, but I think he was able to learn and change. But if I remember sociology, it was that the second generation is in a whole different world, removed from what their fathers or their families went through to accumulate that wealth, or next generation accumulated the wealth.
Well, what's interesting
They're removed.
is I know my genius brother has pointed out that our family, you can see this, but we think it's third generation. Okay, if you take, and I think my family's example is something that you see a lot of. Okay, the immigrant was my grandfather. My father's father comes here penniless, classic American story. Has a little push cart, pedals, ends up in Chicago, pedals up into Wisconsin. He's peddling his wares. Finally, who knows, the cart breaks down. He stops in Green Bay. And
he runs into a woman.
He had to go back to Chicago to find a woman.
Oh, okay.
Because there weren't any Jews up where he was. He went back down to get a woman. But he, puts up a little, general store, and then the general store becomes a furniture store, and his children, his sons, enter the furniture business with him, and yet my father then takes that store and builds upon it. And becomes entrepreneurial in his own way, gets into real estate. Okay, then he still had the drive. He still had the drive of his father. He was with his dad as the family rose and achieved the American dream. Then my father has children. That would be me and my brother and sister.
Right.
And the three of us grew up in comfort.
Right. Overeducated.
Much
sort of.
Entitled,
liberal,
not waspy, don't ever call me waspy. Liberal, but yeah, part of that pampered generation. And we didn't become slugs. I mean, we all carried our own weight. We all were successful, but not entrepreneurial. We all went off and were able to do where our hearts took us. So I became a blabbermouth, which doesn't really do anything. My brother became a thinker, which, doesn't produce anything tangible. And I think that, and then we've looked at our children, and I don't know, we're really worried about that fourth generation.
I'm in similar circumstances.
Well, that's right, because you get softer and softer and softer, and you can't help but get softer.
Right.
How do you help it?
But it's variable. It comes in degrees. Like your degree is a lot less, like in the wealth bubble than Romney was, or Forbes, or something like that. So it comes in degrees, and it also comes with the person in a generation. That's a variable, and I think the skipping to a third generation, that sometimes can be a variable too. but you were given a real privilege in going to higher education and making the choices of your heart, as you said. That is a privilege.
That's right.
And that's what the wealth class assumes they will have, and then carry that on to future generations.
That's right. And
you can see it in the Kennedys and the Bushes and all the families in America.
That's right. That's right.
But the other subject I want to touch on was the shaking of one's protuberances in the Olympics.
Yes.
That naturally, mostly men, are going to look at that. That's not bad, is it?
I'm saying it is out of place. These women are exhibiting this extraordinary strength and everything, and then all of a sudden there's like, and it's like, come on. And then the play-by-play people say, no, they say it's a dance element. That's not a dance element.
No, that's their explanation. It is somewhat, that's true, but various sports performers and the Olympic Committee itself promote that stuff, okay? And it's always mixed in with sports. A sexual display by a female mostly, and sometimes a male. Did you hear all the buzz about the swimmer, what's his name?
Lochte.
No, the other one that won last time.
Phelps.
Yeah, Phelps. There was like, just battering of eyelashes and giggling by so many women about the build of this guy. And so there is a sexual element in a physical display that you can't deny, and that they exploit, and they do it all the time, and it is in any performing art. And sports is a performing art.
Well,
so think of it that way.
Okay, yeah. Look, here, the reality is the Olympics offers ogling for all of us, because what you are looking at is the most extraordinary human bodies, because by virtue of their strength and their training. But I'm saying an ass wiggle is not an athletic thing.
But it's a female. It's female sexual display.
But
right?
Okay, if it doesn't belong in the floor exercise.
Well, it's always there. It's always been there.
But
as well as political stuff.
Because of the sexism of how women are viewed, you don't see the men ass wiggle on a.
No, they don't have to. Look at Phelps when he was in the Olympics 4 years ago. He showed his brawn, his shoulders and his chest, which I thought were grotesque. He is a swimming machine. You look at his chest and it is so grotesque and overbuilt. Yet there was swooning over this, and I thought it's like a muscle-bound person that some people think is really attractive, and others think it's grotesque.
Okay, well, we all have our opinions. I don't think.
No, I'm just trying to explain it. I'm not saying I value it or anything like that. I'm just trying to say that that's inevitable. Right. You'll have politics in the Olympics, and you'll have sexual display too.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Of all the bodies on this I think Phelps has one of the least interesting and the more odd, because his arms are too long. Things are just sort of too. It's too. It's why he's a swimming machine. Yes. Hello, caller.
Hello, Lynn.
Hi.
What I was calling about is I wish, and I'm not putting down the Olympics or any kind of sports and entertainment, but this country emphasizes so much into sports and entertainment, it's disgusting. If we put that energy into something else, we'd have a better country. I'm sorry. I understand sports help a little bit on things, but it's just overboard with entertainment, sports, all of it. It just makes me nauseated. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye, old killjoy. Listen, I got news for you. What America's biggest industry is entertainment. That's what we produce now. And Americans are, by nature, we have been programmed to be an audience. We expect constant entertainment. Hello.
Hello, Lynn. This is Michael from Palm Springs again.
Hello, Michael.
Hey, you have not talked about the 7/7 edit from the U.S. broadcast of the opening.
What's the 7/7 edit? I don't even know about it.
Oh, the 7/7. There was a segment inside of the Olympic ceremony that commemorated the people who had died under the July 7th terrorist attacks in London. But NBC decided to edit that out because it wasn't relevant.
Really?
So I guess if we're going to broadcast something over there on BBC, then the BBC has the right to cut out anything about our big September thing, right?
Yes, well, that would be, tit for tat. I was not aware that. I mean, obviously, they cut away at times to, from the frivolity and spectacle to do commercials. And you're saying, and one of the times they cut away was for that? That's surprising.
No, they actually cut out that segment, and then for American audiences included an interview with Michael Phelps, because that was far more important for us.
Oh, wow.
Now, is that disgusting?
Yeah.
Yeah. One whole segment to the, I don't know how many people it was, 117 or something.
You mean in the subway attack, the tube attack? Yeah.
Yep, subway bus attacks. And they were being honored in that, and we didn't need to see that part.
Why did you call it the 7/7?
Yeah. Because it was on July 7th.
Oh, July 7th. Okay, it's their 9/11. 9/11, 7/7. Yeah, right. So if we ever, and
of course, we would never stop talking about how insensitive and indignant that was.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, wow. I didn't know for some reason.
Yeah. I was blown away with that little tidbit.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. You blew me away, too.
Yep.
Okay.
And as far as Michael Phelps, decent body, but that face, he's not average looking.
He's not an attractive man. Now.
No, he's not.
But there's
He's not, homely or anything like that. He's just an odd, funny face.
He looks like he looks like an ostrich. He looks like an animal of some sort. He's just sort of like a big bird.
The proportions aren't
right.
Exactly right for everything else. Like the chin's too small for the cheeks, and
the poor guy. I mean, what are we?
Yeah,
doing?
but he's got a lot of talent.
Huh? Yeah. And
if he can't be on a Wheaties box, well, he could be on a Wheaties box.
Okay. All right. Hey, thanks.
Okay. Enjoy.
That's our thank you. You too. It's our Palm Springs correspondent. I got to take a break. Any other thoughts about the Olympiad? Feel free. And you can also email me at lynn@pghcitypaper.com.
Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Laser Hair and Skin Center has been providing professional, affordable services for over 10 years. Now they're proud to exclusively offer RegenLite acne treatment. RegenLite is an FDA-approved, non-invasive drug, chemical, and pain-free treatment of all grades of acne. With RegenLite, you will experience a 50% improvement in less than 2 weeks, with lasting improvement for up to 12 weeks. Call the Laser Hair and Skin Center today at 412-373-1700 and receive $100 off your first session. Or go to mylaserhair.com for more information and to see their full line of services. The Laser Hair and Skin Center.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on admission to the Science Center, History Museum, Carnegie Museums, area golf courses, and some of the best restaurants in Pittsburgh. bergbargains.com. Local deals, local merchants. bergbargains.com.
It takes 12 years to create a graduate. It takes about the same time to create a dropout. And at the end of the day, the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be you. So United Way is asking you to make a pledge. Tutor a child who needs help. Mentor a kid who needs someone on their side. Volunteer to read to children. Because when a child advances, we all advance. Be a reader, tutor, or mentor. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge now at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Okay, we are back. Okay, here's a little item. This is not Olympics. That blew me away. Found this in the Wall Street Journal today. An airboat captain whose hand was bitten off by a 9-foot alligator faces charges of feeding the animal.
He's been through
Excuse me. I mean, enough said. I mean, look. So he fed the alligator his own hand. I mean, leave the guy alone. You're going to fine him on top of that? Jeez. So I thought that was the funniest thing I ever heard. Then I looked a little closer, and what it was is that the captain had some, tourists on his boat, and he wanted to lure an alligator for him. So he was holding a fish in his hand, dangling it in the water to lure the alligator, who, said, "Thank you very much. I'll take that fish, and your hand doesn't look half bad either," and took it all. But so he's being charged with dangling the fish, and I say, "Come on! He lost his hand, for God's sake." He has been charged with unlawful feeding of an alligator, and could be fined thousands of dollars. By the way, his hand was, they found the alligator. They killed the poor alligator. I don't see why you do that. They killed the alligator, and they found his hand, but they couldn't reattach it. Ansel writes, "Please explain to me why Romney is making these overseas trips." Well, then Ansel answers his own questions. "I assume it's because they need footage for his commercials where he looks presidential and looks like he's got foreign policy experience, right? They need pictures of him putting his foot in his mouth in London, and pictures of him looking goofy in a yarmulke at the Western Wall. And Ansel says, and not only did he insult Great Britain, in Israel he declared that Jerusalem is Israel's capital and vowed to move the American embassy there. Regardless of how you feel about this, should he be making these comments when he doesn't represent the country? I don't know. That's a sop to, I mean, he's just got this unbelievable lack of backbone wherever he is when he's not. You know what's odd? It just occurred to me. How odd is it that this man who says anything he thinks he has to say to please the audience that he's in front of, and he'll turn on a dime and alter what he said yesterday if, in fact, there's some outcry about, if he misfigured things, and he'll just turn it around immediately. The neediness that he has to please. And yet, this is the same guy who offends people by saying the wrong thing. I mean, because he's so awkward. And maybe it's by virtue of the fact that he just simply doesn't, again, this discomfort, this, I don't know what I think whatever you guys want me to think. On the other hand, whenever he does say what he thinks, he says something wrong. His honest moments invariably get him in trouble. Ansel also says that the latest issue of Newsweek labels Romney a wimp. And the subtitle, I guess, of their headline is he just too insecure to be president? I don't know about it. Something's wrong. Something's wrong with him. I'm starting to think of Dick Cheney as like Rasputin. You can't kill him. I mean, here's a guy who, by all accounts, should be dead. But not only is he back after this transplant, not only is he back, he's now back in force. He's popping up here, he's popping up there. Man, too mean to die. Too mean to die. Okay, let's see what else we have. Speaking of somebody who's, not known for being mean, but certainly is not intending to go anywhere soon, I give you Justice Antonin Scalia. who, as you know, has come in for some pretty pointed criticism, even from conservatives, for his lack of judicial restraint in his comments, even in his opinions and dissents. All of a sudden, Scalia, who, I think what you see, it's fascinating because forever throughout human history, you see the same thing, how power and the power of a Supreme Court justice through tenure, through lifetime tenure, makes them, if they don't have the proper sort of break on their character, somebody who keeps them in line, you would become a total, forgive me, asshole, which is what Scalia has become. He feels untouchable. He is. Consequently, he's unassailable. Consequently, anybody who criticizes him, he's not hearing anything they're saying. So he's been giving interviews left and right trying to correct this misimpression all of us have of him. And that's odd, too, because a Supreme Court justice generally keeps a very low profile. And his ego is so huge now that he has the need to respond to any criticism of him. So he pops up on Fox News this weekend. And when he was asked about the very, very tough criticism of him by a very revered conservative federal jurist, Judge Richard Posner, here's what Scalia, in his unbearable arrogance, said. Posner, he's a Court of Appeals judge, isn't he? He doesn't sit in judgment of my opinions as far as I'm concerned. In other words, he said, he's beneath me, isn't he? He's not on the Supreme Court. He's a mere Court of Appeals judge, isn't he? As if he didn't know. Vaguely know the name. And let me tell you, Posner is loved and respected because he, whether you like his politics or not, he at least has an understanding of proper judicial mean. Ha! He's a Court of Appeals judge, isn't he? I don't think he sits in judgments of my opinions. No one sits in judgment of my opinion, says the Scalia. And then he says this, which I find even more troubling. He says this: it's fun to push buttons. When Richard Posner comes out with a statement like that, I should come out with a statement equally provocative. In other words, here is the justice, longest-serving justice on our current court, essentially saying something that no mother would swallow, which is, he said something awful to me, so of course I then should, he uses the word should, say something equally awful to him. A justice of the court saying that I am easily provoked, and if somebody says something, dares to criticize me, especially somebody beneath me, then I am going to and should come back with another provocative retort. This is childish. This is a level of infantilism which is breathtaking, given that the man who is speaking it is this mighty, black-robed, lifetime tenured jurist honorable jurist. I think he's lost his damn mind. I mean, he's absolutely so in love with Antonin Scalia, his brilliance, his bonhomie, his status, that he brooks no criticism. And he doesn't get it. He has not a clue of how he's coming off. He's coming off as an arrogant child. And unfortunately, there's no one to rein him in. No one. The only one who would have a shot would be the Chief Justice saying, hey, buddy, don't you think you could zip your lip? But I don't see that happening, but then who knows? And even if it were to happen, Scalia obviously is somebody who is uncorrectable, would not accept criticism for anybody, even the Chief Justice, who in fact is his superior. The only one. Oh, okay. What else I got here? I don't know if you saw this. It is so beyond belief. You can't, sometimes you can't even believe what your eyes are telling you. You know, who you going to believe? Me or your lying eyes? No sooner did the horror of the murders in the theater in Aurora, Colorado happen than some rich guy with a lot, well, that has a foundation, the Ralph Smead Foundation, put up a billboard in Idaho. I'll describe it to you. The billboard is split in half. On one side is the picture of the alleged killer. On the other side is a picture of Barack Obama. And under or on top of the killer's picture, it says, kills 12 in movie theater with assault rifle. Everyone freaks out. Here's what it says on Obama's side with his picture. Kills thousands with his foreign policy. Wins Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, it leaves you with your mouth just hanging open. The only good news here is that nobody has come to the defense of this billboard. People are saying it is an outrage from all sides of the spectrum. It's nice to know that at some point a line still can get crossed in our current unbelievably noxious and toxic climate. I mean, that billboard is offensive on so many levels that everybody is offended by it. You're offended by the use of this horrible tragedy and the deaths of innocent people to take a shot, a totally political shot at a president you don't like. That it is exploitative to the point of just disgustingness. It's also apples and oranges. I mean, it doesn't even, it makes no sense. But it's still up as far as I know. That's our First Amendment at work. And that's when it really kicks in, when it can stick something so offensive in front of our faces, and it's not like we can say, take that down. No. We can't, and I think we understand that. Ooh, Do I have another break? Yeah, I do. I have another break to take, and I will return momentarily.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Pittsburgh City Paper is now available on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com to read this week's digital issue or search for restaurants, bars, concerts, events, and movies on any portable device. Plus blogs, Lynn Cullen, and Best of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com. Get Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com now for Pittsburgh City Paper's brand new mobile app. Get the latest restaurant reviews, event listings, movie times, and of course, Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. citypapermobile.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
So I finally went to see the Batman movie, the Dark Knight Rises. That's the name of it. The one that was much of it filmed here. And in fact, when I say here, I'm talking about right here. It was filmed outside my studio, right here on Smithfield. And like toward the end of the movie, the big chase, in which the fate of everything hangs on getting to this bomb and defusing it. Am I giving stuff away? Nah. That big chase occurs on Smithfield, downtown. And what was interesting is that when they were filming it, we watched a lot of the prep that went into that shoot. The parking garage right across the street with the, sort of circular zip. They built a whole thing in front of it. There were other things that were built. There was stuff in the alley right here. And it was fascinating to watch all of that. But in order... you got to carry it all the way through and then see what resulted. Well, the funny thing about the chase is that chase must go on for what? 5, 6, 7 minutes? And, they're moving at really fast, warp speed and all their fancy, vehicles and stuff. And they're blowing by. You see Saks Fifth Avenue, which is a riot because it doesn't say that anymore. So Saks Fifth Avenue is forever stuck in this movie, even though it will be a parking garage in another year. So you see Saks and you see the Kaufman's clock. And you see all this stuff go whizzing by. You see Wiener World, for God's sake. But here's what's funny. If you know the street, and God knows those of us who work down here do, the chase amounts to them blowing 4 blocks down Smithfield, all the way to like Oxford Center, and then turning around and coming back up Smithfield all the way to like, is that 9th? Yeah. To 9th. And then turning around and going back so that you see, if you're a Pittsburgher, you're looking at it and thinking, wait a minute. Didn't we pass that drugstore on the other side of the street just a minute ago? Wait a minute. Isn't that, obviously you don't see Saks twice because that's too much of a marker for anybody. But if you're a hometown person, that scene is a riot. And you see how editing, how you can do anything with editing, how the movies are magical. Fascinating. stuff and funny stuff, actually. Why, the big scene happens right here in this alley behind us where the what is that, the Harvard, Yale, Princeton Club is. Which, by the way, you do not have to have gone to Harvard, Yale, or Princeton to get into. If you ever want to belong to a hoity-toity, fancy-sounding club, you can join that thing. And I don't even think the dues are all that much. I thought it was a pretty good movie, given the kind of movie it was. I'm not wild about those kinds of movies. But, yeah, it was good. I have to admit I was shocked by the plot turn at the end. They got me. And then there was another thing at the very end that I thought, oh, come on. And then my son explained to me how it was a possible thing that I had. I miss so much, I think, when I'm watching movies. But, yeah, it pretty good. Luke Ravenstahl actually has a very big part in that movie. And if I were he, that's bragging rights forever. I mean, he gets a full, you see his back. Granted, you never see his face, but you see he's the kicker in the football game. And you see his name. Ravenstahl is about to kick the ball, and then Ravenstahl does kick the ball. And as far as I know, that was him kicking the ball because he was a kicker at Washington and Jefferson? Where'd he go? He went to, so there he is. Ravenstahl actually gets a, kick in. And you see UPMC. Oh, God, more than once, because there's no way to shoot in Pittsburgh and not. And you see Giant Eagle. And you see some definite Pittsburgh-y kinds of things, which is always fun. And Heinz? Oh, and Heinz Ward. I thought you meant like Heinz ketchup. Okay, yeah. And Heinz Ward for sure, yeah. Running like hell as PNC Park implodes behind him, which is pretty cool, too. All right, so that was that. And you should go see it at some point, although, I don't know. So I just want to say this before we leave today. The front page story in the Post-Gazette today is about how all the natural gas drilling that was supposed to bring so many jobs and wealth and to all these folks around here, and it is doing some of that, yeah. And remember how, with that cracker plant, how they were being told how many jobs that is and blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out that the drillers aren't doing anywhere near as much drilling right now as they were just last year. People who've had wells drilled on their property and who were expecting all kinds of wondrous royalty checks, they ain't getting them because they ain't drilling. The well's there, but they're not drilling. Why? Well, because of that wonderful marketplace. Because the price of natural gas has plummeted, and the gas companies don't want to bother pulling it out anymore because they're not getting enough return on their dollar. So, Mango, they've packed up a lot of their rigs and have moved into Ohio, where there's a different kind of gas that's extracted. It's called wet or something, but the price there is looking better to them. So, the companies are being very out front about it. Here's Chesapeake Energy's in its annual report said it's going to scale back its Marcellus shale drilling. Well, wait a minute. I thought we just essentially sold our souls to these companies because they were going to make us rich. And they're already, pulling out? I don't mean to overstate this. I mean, they're not totally pulling out. But if you look at a graph, there are nowhere near, and it used to be, they're drilling, they just keep drilling, there's more and more wells, unbelievable. They're capping some right now. They're leaving, especially in the northeastern part of the state. They're taking all their, their big trucks and their drills, and they're heading into Ohio. And here's that, Catherine Klaber. She says, she's the Marcellus Shale Coalition spokesperson. She says, Yeah, we're still at a point where these are by no means heady times for the drilling part of this industry. There is no doubt there's been a drop in rig count in Pennsylvania. Now, wait a minute. As I said, this is the same Klaber who was dangling dreams of never-ending money and jobs in our faces so that our legislature essentially gave them the farm, right? Literally. And now that they've got everything they wanted, now they're being a little more honest with us. Got a nasty little... here's a little email. Obama did a world tour in 2008 when he was the presumptive presidential nominee. That's okay, though. He went to Europe. Well, sure, they all do. I didn't say it wasn't okay. We know that's what he's doing. Went to Europe and wowed the audiences with a charismatic, half-black, half-white, hope and change demeanor. Oh, you guys, you just can't help yourselves. Remember the speech in Germany? Sure did fake them all out, didn't he? Again, you're the absolute best. The best. Romney insults the Brits with his Olympic preparedness statement. Have to laugh. Obama insulted the Queen and her court when he inappropriately proposed a toast while the band played the British national anthem. Didn't see that make cable news, did ya? That proves that in spite of your protestations to the opposite, that the national media is in the tank for Obama. Plus, Miss Lynn, at least Romney went to Israel and does know its capital is Jerusalem. Obama has not made a trip to Israel. Lots of fun listening to you, though. Sometimes I just watch with the sound down, but I'm usually one of your few viewers. I do so in order to present alternative liberal views to my otherwise conservative friends. You're the best. Liberals commit atrocious crimes and say awful things about everyday Americans on a daily basis. You report nothing, yet the Obama billboard you make an issue of. Sure, that's bad, inappropriate. Reasonable people on the left or the right recognize that, but those isolated incidences, when they do occur, are grist for your mill. I'm rambling, but I'm watching till 11. Oh, well, then he's gone because it's 11:02. Toodaloo, toodaloo. I'm glad you're watching. I really am. I really am. And I thank you for all your kind remarks. Tomorrow, my sister Susan, who will be a year older, it's her birthday. Wednesday, Potter. Thursday, Sokolowski returns. And Friday, an amazing woman named Vanessa German will be joining me. You might have been seeing or hearing about her. She's all the rage right now. And she's amazing. And the work she does is amazing. And I just can't wait for her to be on the show. I love this woman. Love her. Okay? Have a great day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.